All right, this video will be on weaving, and I'm going to go through the simple steps of getting us started with our weaving process. The first thing you want to do is sketch out your design on a piece of paper or sticky note pad, and you will need to have a design that is more than just a stripe, and you'll need to use at least 2 different colors. Right here, I kind of sketched out really lightly of what I would like, the 3 diamonds with the shapes on the side, and I'm going to do the colored in portions black and the portions that I did not color in white. This will help me look back at my original design to what I am doing in real life to help keep myself on task. Once you have your design picked out, the first thing you'll need to do to start with your weaving board is do our stationary yarns. With these stationary yarns, this is going to be the hidden yarns that's going to hold everything together. You're going to take a long piece of string. It doesn't really matter what color you choose because they're going to be covered up anyway, and you are going to loop them around the teeth of the board. The board is a little delicate because it is made out of cardboard, and just like anything else, when things are bent back and forth or manhandled, it will fall apart. You're going to take your yarn and you're going to start by putting it through the tooth of the cardboard, and you're going to go back and forth to create all the strings on the front side. And on the back side, you're just going to loop around the teeth to hold it in place. So when you go in, you're going to hook it through that tooth. On the back side, you'll see that you'll go around that tooth to hold it in place. And then on the front side, you're going to go the extent of that, loop it around the tooth, and you're just going to go back and forth until you're all done. When you have completed the stationary yarns, make sure that you had not pulled them too tight, that when you put your finger across, it's snug, but it's not like drooping or moving around anywhere. If they are done too tight, it's going to be hard or be more difficult for you to go with your weaving with your needle later on. On the back side, go ahead and with a small piece of tape, you can tape it down so it doesn't get in your way. If it doesn't bother you, it's okay. You can go ahead and leave it. Try not to leave your strings any longer than this, about 4 inches or so. Once my stationary yarns are done, I'm going to look at my design, and you will need to complete your foundation row. When you do a row, you need to weave back and forth 2 times before it is a completed one. When you do this, you'll do the front side and the back side of your stationary yarns to have a solid line, because if you just do it once, you will only get half of your stationary yarns covered. To do this, we will need to string our yarn needle. We are using an elongated yarn needle. An easy way to keep your yarn in place is to do one simple knot at the end. Don't do the double knot or you're never going to be able to get it undone. This way it won't fall out or anything like that. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to use it to go over and under. You're going to do that for the length of your board. Sometimes you need to use your fingers to help out with that. And before you pull your yarn through, make sure that you have skipped every other one so that you don't have to go back and fix it or undo it. Pull it through like this. You're going to pull it through the length of your yarn. Leave about 3 or 4 inches on the end right here, just for a tail. You're going to push that up. Don't force the yarn to the top. Just make it snug. And then you can see how the black yarn is covering every other white stationary yarn. That's one go around, and when you go back, you're going to go opposite. So, since this is on top right here of the white, then I'm going to go underneath and go opposite. Now, when you do this, you do not want to tug your yarn too tight, because if you pull it too tight, you're going to have a little kink in your weaving. You don't want any kinks in your weaving or to go inwards. You want it to stay straight up and down. So, loosen that up on the edge. You're going to pull it snugly up against that white yarn, but you're going to keep that white yarn straight up and down. Push it together either with the tips of your fingers, or you can use the end of a pencil. We had 2 passes of our black yarn for our foundation right here. Then I'm going to go in and start doing my design. My first design is a simple triangle. And what I'm going to do is just weave my triangles right here. Okay. I'm going to ignore all my stationary yarn where I'm going to be putting a different color. Okay. And how to do this is I'm going to start from the middle right here. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to weave in until I get to the middle section of my board. It's okay to use some of your middle sections for weaving back and forth as long as the end it is covered up. So I'm in the middle of my board, push that up, make sure you don't niche it or kink it on the end right here. And this is going to be our very first one. Okay, now I'm going to do 2 passes to create 1 row, and then I'm going to extend it by 1 on each side, do 2 passes, extend it on each side, do passes, and extend it. Okay, now with my design, it doesn't come all the way to the end. Okay, it's about halfway through on each side. So I need to keep an eye on that as I am going back and forth. So right here, I have my 1 pass. So I have 1 and 2 for my original one. Pull it through. Don't kink it. Then I'm going to extend it right here and do my 2 passes. That's my step down to make my diamond bigger. Do the second pull through. Since that's underneath, I need to go on top. I have my 2 passes, my over and my under right here. And then for my step down, I got my over and my under. So that creates 1 even row for my diamond. Okay. Doesn't look like much right now. As I go along, it's going to get bigger and bigger. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do a few more passes around to show you what it would look like. And I'm going to show you how to decrease in your stitches. So from here, you can see that I have done a few more passes. With each step that I take down, I extended the amount on each side of my white stationary yarn. I do an over and under to complete 1 pass, and then I'll move on. Now, this is as wide as I want my diamond to be. So now I'm going to start going inwards to make it smaller for the point again. So I just completed my 2 passes. Now I'm going to decrease. So instead of going back to this stationary yarn or even this one, I'm going to skip it and go back. So I'm going to skip it and go back and still follow the order of the over-under technique. Be careful as you pull, even on the outside, you can create a kink, and you do not want to create a kink within your weaving, even in the middle, or it's going to make it look kind of funny and unprofessional, and it's just not going to look good. Then you're going to go in here and do your other pass around to create your 1 total solid line. I'm going to decrease it. So you already went under, but I need to go back so that I can decrease. I need to do the same one with this and step down. All right, I did my 2 passes, so it's 1 row. Then I'm going to skip again. So instead of going over this, I'm going to step down, do my other pass so it completes that row. I went under too much, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip it. You can see I'm getting pretty close. Always double check when you're creating your design because they can get lost pretty easily. And that is my triangle. Now I'm going to push together my seams so it's more of a triangle because you want your design to be solid. You don't want those white areas to be showing through. Now, obviously, if you want a bigger triangle, you would do more than just one go around for each row to make it bigger or smaller, depending what you desire for the look of your weaving. I'm going to continue with my diamonds, and I'm going to start filling up more diamonds as I go along. I have taken the black yarn that was already on my needle, and I have gone through and I have started on my third diamond. They are turning out a little bit smaller than expected, so I'll probably put another diamond or two more so than I had originally planned. And that's okay, I'll go with the flow. But I have ran out of black yarn, so I'm at the end. There's no need to tie a knot or anything like that. All you're going to do is you're going to tuck this underneath all the white yarns, and you're just going to fold it behind. Okay, and then you're going to tape it there, out of the way, out of sight, out of mind. But since I'm right here and I have all this empty room, I'm going to show you how to start filling in your other areas. Okay, so I'm going to do the black and white design. So I have some white yarn all threaded, and I'm going to start from the top right here. And since this is started like that, this is on top right here, I'm going to go underneath and continue with that weaving. Now, I'm going to get close and show you. I'm going to have to connect my new yarn to my old yarn with the same stationery right here. I'm going to go underneath, and that goes on top. I'm going to pull through, have your tail sitting out. Then make sure from the place where your black thread was, see how it was not connected right here? You're going to connect it to where the black yarn is. You always have to go back to where you left off. So you're kind of like double dipping right there. It's connected to the same stationery yarn that the black is connected to. And then I'm just going to go back. And see how you're connected right there? I'm going to go back. And in my triangle, I have skipped down. I need to make sure that it's connected. So I'm connected right here. I'm going to step down and I need to connect right here. You're just filling in your gaps and making sure your new yarn is connected to where your last old yarn is left off. Because if you don't connect it to the last yarn that you had it on, it's going to leave a hole when you take it off the loom. So always make sure you connect it to the last previous one. And you're just going to do this and fill it all the way in and just making sure that it's connected to the last previous area where the black yarn was. I am going along. I realized I forgot a part of my design. So back to my original sketch, I had these half little diamond shapes on the edges, and I didn't put those in. So I'm going to go and stop with my white yarn. I got to about right here, and then I'm going to take my black yarn and weave in my little triangle pieces. First step I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 pieces. So have your tail sticking out like that. Go back, I have it right here. Go back in and go up one more. So just like how I did my normal diamond, I am going to go in and do 2 passes to create 1 row, and then keep hopping upwards until I reach about the middle right here, and then I'll come back down. All right, so I reached the point where it's connected with the original diamond right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and step down. I completed half of my triangle right here. I went in to about the same length of my original diamond shapes, and then I'm going to continue with my white yarn to go back and forth within my negative space that I'm leaving behind. Make sure when you do this is that you connect it to the previous black or old yarn. Okay, see that I have right here? My new yarn is connected to the stationery of the old yarn. You want it to be interlocked so you don't have any gaping holes when it's hung up on the wall.